G'day, welcome to NerdCulture. My name's Kenneth Fodder, and we're doing the movie review for Red 1. Now, for those of you who've seen the short, you'll know that I enjoyed this. I enjoyed this a lot. This is possibly going on my list of Christmas films, which would also be including The Hogfather, Die Hard, Polar Express, Violent Night, which is due for a rewatch because I want to make a video on that one as well. And, I wanted to say the Lord of the Rings trilogy because I believe that one of those came out at Christmas, but I just watched those ones anyway, so I might do a review of both the theatrical and the extended cut, depending on how much time I have this year. Because the extended cut's quite long. I mean, even the theatrical's no joke, but yeah. Anyway, this is making the list of my Christmas films, mostly because Gigantic Talking Polar Bear and J.K. Simmons as Santa. I like J.K. Simmons. J.K. Simmons is a good actor. And I don't know how much of his muscles are real and how much of his muscles are a suit, but damn, the blow is ripped. Anyway. Movie starts off with a family at Christmas with one of the kids not believing that Santa is real. You then hard cut to multiple years later where the kid is now Chris Evans and is a bounty hunter. He can find anyone or anything. He is, when we see him again, he's currently in the middle of a mission to plant a device inside a scientific facility, which I believe is made mention to track seismic activity. At the same time, The Rock, who is the commander of the ELF, which is... I forget what it stands for, but he had another acronym for it, which is like enormous, livid, and formidable or something. Anyway, he's basically Santa's head of security. And Santa, J.K. Simmons, is doing a stop at the mall. Supposedly, at least according to this film, world governments are in on the whole Santa thing and provide him with air cover whenever he so desires. Yeah. Military aircraft are cool, but I don't know really how this kind of applies to Santa. Anyway. It just so transpires that there are forces afoot that aren't exactly entirely happy with the way that Santa's been treating Christmas and the naughty list. Which Chris Evans, unbeknownst, has then now provided the location of the North Pole. Which is supposed to be a secret. Anyway, it is The Rock's last day, because I can't remember his name, so we're just going to call him The Rock. It is The Rock's last day of head of security. He hands in his notice and goes... his reason for it is basically that he can't see the kid within people anymore. Santa does what he does it for the children. For those who are children and for those who used to be children. Because Santa can see the children in everybody. Right? Anyway, Santa gets kidnapped while he is perusing, mulling over the events of his last day and coming to terms with the fact that he's quitting and, all that. Santa gets kidnapped. There is a chase. One of the vehicles that he catches is a decoy. Oops. So then he gets a call from Lucy Liu, who... I can't remember her being in anything else other than Charlie's Angels. So either I haven't been paying attention, or I'm just really bad at remembering roles. And yes, I've seen Charlie's Angels. Don't judge. Anyway, she is the head of a government agency or a international agency named MORA, which is an acronym which I can't remember, which is something... Paranormal Activity Organization or whatever. They basically deal with all the M stands for mythological. I know that much. And the O stands for organization. So if you want to know the other two letters, I guess watch the film. But yeah, so she gets wind of the fact that Santa gets kidnapped and teams up with The Rock to find out who gave the kidnappers the information about the North Pole. And they happen upon Chris Evans, who in the B storyline is a bit of a deadbeat dad. So he has a kid. He has. It's not an ex-wife. She's an ex-girlfriend that he had a kid with. She is now happily married to another dude, the kid's stepfather, but the kid is kind of really bummed that dad doesn't really want to be around him, and you find out later that Chris Evans kind of feels like he's doing the kid a favor by not being around because he feels like he's been a shit dad. We'll get into that. Anyway, he is then coerced by Lucy Liu and a gigantic talking polar bear, best bit ever, into helping The Rock find Santa. They obviously zip around the world using the back doors and storage rooms of toy shops, of all things. Interesting piece of lore. To travel the globe, as well as to pinch toys and turn them into their own very adult playthings like fast cars. And fighting robots. Again, that's later in the film. They then wind up on a tropical beach where they find the guy that Chris Evans sold the information to. They then also find out the name of the bad guy, or in this case, bad woman. Played by a chick who I have absolutely no familiarity with, but with a quick Google search, turns out she played Sabrina in Sabrina the Teenage Witch. Not the old one, but the new one, which came out, I don't know. I'm probably never going to watch it, so it's not important. Anyway, she plays a Christmas witch by the name of Gryla. Anyway, if you say her name, she can hear you. Turns out that she is a shapeshifter, and her primary form is an 18-foot ogre with two tails. And she's basically in the punishment game. Essentially that her and a few other mythological creatures are in the habit of punishing the people that are ostensibly on the naughty list, or people that they feel like have been naughty. And her whole gist is that she wanted to get into the North Pole and steal Santa so that she could use his powers to go around and punish everybody that's been bad on Christmas Eve. Whether you have said a bad word, been naughty, like properly naughty, or even if you've, like, say, jaywalked or not tipped, or, maybe you've been... maybe you said a harsh word to some random person on a particularly bad day that you were having. It's all worthy of punishment. Basically, she's going to punish everybody, everywhere, for everything, or at least almost everybody. Anyway, they fight snowmen because she sends them after her name gets called. She sends them to go fight the Rock. The snowmen are defeated when you pull off their noses. Interesting piece of lore. But the fight scenes are pretty good. And then they go and they see Krampus as their next stop. Krampus and Santa used to be brothers. Krampus is responsible for creating the naughty list in the first place and was abusing his authority in that regard until Santa took the list from him and kicked him out of the North Pole. Krampus apparently at one point teamed up with Gryla, the Christmas witch, and they dated for a bit before having a falling out. So they sneak into Krampus's castle, and they try to ascertain whether or not Krampus still has a snow globe thing, which you find out that preceding scenes Gryla already has, and she is trying to duplicate it so that she can make more of them. It's an imprisonment device. Like solitary confinement, but in a glass ball, so you can see everybody else having a miserable time. It's great. He doesn't have it. Chris Evans decides that he's going to take a piece of gold from Krampus's Christmas chest to pay off some debts. And they get imprisoned. Krampus sets Chris free, but Chris says that The Rock reckons he could take Krampus in a slap fight. And so they have a bit of a slap. In and amongst this, obviously, The Rock has like a gauntlet thing that he uses. It gives him some capabilities that he, invariably switches through while he's doing stuff, like making toy cars large, or making that one hand that he's got the gauntlet on really, really strong. It has been confiscated, and one of Krampus's minions, I guess, is wearing it. Anyway, Chris Evans basically yoinks it back, gives it to the Rock, and the Rock slaps the crap out of Krampus, and then they run. So, upon finding out that Grilla doesn't have it, Chris Evans accidentally says her name again, and they get roadblocked by a self-playing piano with a present on top of it. It transpires at the same time that Chris Evans gets a present, his son also gets a present in the same fashion, and they are both entrapped within the snow globe. The Rock being, oh, don't do it. Chris Evans like, but it's my son, dude. I gotta be there for my kid. Anyway, so they're entrapped. They figure out they see what's going on. Grilla doesn't so much as explain it as they just kind of observe what's happening in the background as she prepares to go for a ride on Christmas Eve. It finally cottons on to the Rock and to Lucy Liu that Santa never left the North Pole. The plane that they thought he was in was also a misdirect. Yeah, misdirect. And that he's still there because Lucy Liu has been communicating ostensibly with all the guards at the North Pole, and the North Pole only functions when Santa's there. Basically, it kind of shuts down while he's not. Like, it still kind of works while he's there, but also at the same time doesn't, if that makes sense. They never really go into it that well. It's not that important. Santa's still at the North Pole. Grilla tricked everybody. So they bust back in. They discover that some of the guards have been Grilla's sons. She has 13 of them, masquerading as guards. They find out where the real guards are and free them. And in and amongst all of this, Chris Evans and his son have a heart-to-heart where Chris promises to be a better dad, and they escape the globes. Basically, by being a little bit nice, they can escape the naughty prison. Good to know if you ever get caught in one. Anyway, so Santa's been stuck in a ball this entire time asleep while they siphon his energy to power up a quadrupling machine to make more of these globes. They have a massive sleigh full of the things, which they are intent on towing, while Grilla tries to make her good escape with the reindeer and the sleigh and the sleigh trolley. Sleigh cart. Big bucket of blue balls. I don't know. Anyway, while Grilla tries to make her escape, her 13 sons decide to fight everybody. The fight sequence is pretty cool. I did enjoy it. Both Chris Evans and The Rock are completely outmatched, obviously. Chris Evans lands in the reindeer and manages to unharness them, so while the reindeer go off gallivanting, the sleigh crashes, tossing Chris and the witch and The Rock. The witch comes back in her true form. They have a little bit of a showdown. Even Krampus shows up to try and persuade her to leave, but she smacks him too. Anyway, J.K. Simmons, who has not really featured all that much in this film, finally wakes up and tells Grilla that enough is enough before sicking the reindeer on her. The witch is defeated, Christmas is saved, J.K. Simmons loads up all the presents. You get to see how at least this film does the present run, while Chris Evans and his son bond in the sleigh. Obviously, they get invited along, and The Rock finally sees the kid Chris Evans from the opening sequence of the film again, and J.K. Simmons notices, goes, "You can see it, can't you?" And he goes, yeah, I can see it. He's like, can I come back to work? And he's like, yeah, dude, you're fine. It's almost like you never left. Okay, one long-winded explanation later, this was a good popcorn film. This is what I'm going to put it in there. It's a good popcorn film. You can sit down, you have your bucket of popcorn, you eat it, you laugh, you wince, you get thoroughly creeped out by the costuming and the makeup from the guys inside Krampus's castle, because, God, that was just weird. They did a good job, but it was just weird. You remind yourself that, actually, hang on, unless The Rock is playing a tattooed island a demigod, he's not actually that funny. Chris Evans was better as the Human Torch from the Fantastic Four, and pretty decent as Captain America as well. You can't remember the last time you saw Lucy Liu in anything, and J.K. Simmons is still forever and always will be J. Jonah Jameson, leader of the... Oh shit, whatever the Spider-Man newspaper is. And that really all Santa ever wanted for Christmas was a picture of Spider-Man being terrible. I like the film well enough. It might go on my Christmas movie watch list every Christmas. Maybe. We'll see. It was fun enough. I enjoyed it well enough. It's a good popcorn film. I liked it. The costuming was good. The story didn't really matter all that much, to be honest, because honestly, we were just in it to watch the fight scenes and to watch J.K. Simmons be Santa. I think that'll about do it. If you like what you saw, please like, comment, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next episode. Thanks for watching.